Margaret and Anna trudged through the snow, each step a struggle against the biting wind and frigid air. Abandoned by their group, they were left with little more than a thin blanket and scant food supplies.
No warmth.
No protection. Only the vast expanse of white and the howling wind. They huddled close in the forest, feeling the chill of despair. But then, through the blizzard, two figures emerged. Steady, resolute, and observant. They thought hope was lost, but destiny had other plans. Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from, and subscribe if you believe in the power of hope and destiny. Margaret and Anna walked slowly, each step heavy with snow underfoot. They clutched their children close, trying to shield them from the biting wind. The winter landscape stretched vast and white around them, seemingly endless. Trees stood like dark sentinels, their branches heavy with snow. The cold bit into their skin, and each breath was a visible puff of mist in the icy air. Margaret remembered the day they left the east. Their hearts were full of hope, dreams of a better life driving them westward. The promises of new land and fresh starts had pulled many families like theirs into the journey. Margaret and Anna, both widows, had joined the caravan for safety and companionship. Their children were young, needing warmth and food, and the two women leaned on each other for strength. Memories of their husbands lingered in their minds, men lost to illness and accidents, leaving behind young families to fend for themselves. The journey had been hard from the start. Each day brought challenges, rough roads, limited food, and the constant cold. But they had managed, helping each other through the toughest times. Anna often spoke of her late husband, John, remembering how he used to laugh even in the worst of times. Margaret would nod, thinking of her own husband, James, who had been a rock in their lives. They shared stories to keep spirits up, their words a warm thread through the cold days. As the group moved further west, the weather worsened. Supplies dwindled, and tempers flared. The men leading the caravan made decisions quickly, sometimes harshly. They focused on keeping the strongest moving forward, leaving the weak behind. Margaret and Anna noticed the glances from others, whispers behind their backs. They were seen as burdens, their children too small to help and too hungry to ignore. One morning, the caravan leader, Mr. Hargrove, called a meeting. His face was stern, his eyes hard as he addressed the group. Margaret and Anna stood at the edge, holding their children close. Mr. Hargrove spoke of the storm coming, the dangers ahead. His words were clear: those who could not keep up would have to be left behind. It was a harsh reality, but survival demanded hard choices. The decision came swiftly. Margaret and Anna were told they would not continue with the group. Their supplies were already low, and they would be given only a small share of food and a thin blanket. The news hit them like a physical blow, but they had no power to change it. Tears threatened to fall, but they held them back, not wanting to show weakness. As the others prepared to move on, Margaret and Anna gathered their meager belongings. They wrapped their children tightly, trying to shield them from the harsh world outside. The caravan left without fanfare, the sound of hooves and wheels fading into the distance. Margaret and Anna stood in the snow, watching them go, feeling the weight of abandonment settle over them. They turned to face the storm, determination lining their faces. They could not give up, not for themselves and not for their children. The bond between the two women was strong, forged through shared grief and struggle. They had faced hardship before and survived, and they would do so again. The snow began to fall thicker, the wind picking up. Each step forward was a battle against the elements. Margaret led the way, Anna following close behind. They searched for shelter, anything to block the wind and offer some warmth. The landscape was unforgiving, and the cold seeped into their bones. Margaret kept her thoughts on her children. Her daughter, Emily, was quiet, her small face peeking out from the folds of her coat. She was brave, like her father, and Margaret drew strength from her presence. Anna's son, Peter, was older, his eyes wide with both fear and curiosity. He clung to his mother's side, a silent promise to stay together. The hours passed slowly. Margaret and Anna spoke little, conserving energy, focusing on moving forward. Their breaths were labored, feet numb from the cold. They found a small grove of trees, the branches offering some protection from the wind. It was not much, but it was something. They huddled together, sharing body heat, their children nestled between them. Night fell, bringing with it a deeper cold. The storm howled around them, but they held on. Margaret thought of her husband again, his smile a beacon in her mind. She whispered a promise to him, silent and strong. They would survive. They had to. Anna, too, found comfort in memories, clinging to them as the storm raged on. The night seemed endless. Margaret dozed fitfully, waking often to check on the children. Emily slept fitfully, her small body curled against her mother. Peter was restless, but Anna soothed him with soft words. They were together, and that was what mattered. As dawn broke, the storm showed no sign of letting up. Margaret and Anna knew they needed to move. The cold would only worsen if they stayed still. They stood, stiff and sore, and prepared to continue. The children were bundled tightly, their small faces peeking out, eyes bright with trust. Margaret led the way again, her eyes scanning the horizon. They needed to find help, some sign of life in this frozen world. Anna walked beside her, their steps in sync, a rhythm born from necessity. They were tired, hungry, and cold, but they were not defeated. The landscape was a blur of white, each step a challenge. Margaret's mind drifted, memories of home and warmth filling the silence. She thought of the life they had left behind, the dreams that had driven them west. It felt distant now, replaced by the immediate need to survive. Hours passed, the storm a constant companion. Margaret and Anna persevered, their resolve unbroken. They were mothers, and for their children they would do anything. The bond between them was a lifeline, pulling them forward through the snow and wind. The day wore on, the sun hidden behind clouds. They pressed on, driven by a hope they could not afford to lose. Margaret glanced at Anna, seeing the same determination reflected in her eyes. Together, they were stronger, a truth they held on to with every step forward. As the light began to fade, they searched for another place to rest. The storm was relentless, but they would endure. They had to. Margaret and Anna were no strangers to hardship, and they knew the strength that lay within them. It was enough, it had to be. In the heart of the storm, they found a small hollow between the trees. It was not much, but it offered some shelter. They settled down, wrapping their children close, sharing warmth and quiet words. The night stretched long before them, but they were not alone. As they drifted into an uneasy sleep, Margaret thought again of her husband. His memory was a comfort, a reminder of love and the life they had shared. She whispered a silent promise, her heart full of hope and resolve. They would survive this together and find their way to a new beginning. The morning came with a gray sky, offering little light through the thick clouds. Margaret and Anna woke to the same biting cold, their bodies stiff from the night on frozen ground. The storm had not ceased, the wind still howling through the trees. They exchanged weary glances, knowing they had to keep moving despite their fatigue. Margaret helped Emily to her feet, brushing snow from her coat. Anna did the same for Peter, urging him to stay close. The children were brave, their trust in their mothers unwavering even in the face of such harsh conditions. Their small hands clutched tightly at the women's skirts, seeking warmth and reassurance. The storm was relentless, each gust of wind a fresh assault. Margaret and Anna moved slowly, their footsteps heavy in the deep snow. The little food they had was shared sparingly, each bite a precious gift. The cold seeped further into their bones, making every movement a struggle. Margaret kept her eyes on the landscape, hoping for some sign of shelter or help. The world around them was a blur of white, the horizon indistinct. Her heart ached with the weight of their situation, but she pushed the fear aside. They needed to stay strong, for themselves and their children. As they trudged through the snow, Margaret's thoughts drifted back to the caravan. She felt anger at their abandonment, a sharp pain that cut through her resolve. But she also understood the harsh realities of survival. The group had made a choice, and now she and Anna had to live with it. They had each other, and that had to be enough. Anna stumbled, her foot catching on a hidden branch beneath the snow. Margaret was quick to help her up, their eyes meeting in a silent exchange of determination. They could not afford to fall. They had to keep moving. Together they continued, drawing strength from their shared resolve. The hours passed slowly, marked by the unending sound of the wind. The children grew tired, their steps faltering. Margaret and Anna took turns carrying them, their arms aching but strong. They whispered words of encouragement, small comforts in the face of the storm. As the day wore on, hope began to wane. The landscape offered no relief, no sign of an end to their struggle. Margaret felt the weight of despair settle over her, a cold darkness that matched the storm. But she pushed it away, focusing on each step, each breath. Anna's voice broke through the silence, a soft sound carried by the wind. She spoke of their husbands, of the strength they had shown in times of hardship. Her words were a balm, a reminder of the love that still guided them. Margaret nodded, feeling a flicker of warmth in her chest. The storm showed no mercy, and the cold was a constant companion. Their bodies were weary, each step a test of endurance. But they pressed on, driven by a hope that refused to die. They had come too far to give up, and the thought of their children pushed them forward. As the light began to fade, Margaret and Anna searched for another place to rest. The trees offered little shelter, but they found a small hollow, a dip in the ground that blocked some of the wind. It was enough, and they settled down, wrapping their children close. The night stretched before them, a cold expanse of darkness. Margaret wrapped Emily tightly in the blanket, her arms a protective barrier against the chill. Anna did the same for Peter, her voice a soothing murmur in the night. Their children fell asleep quickly, exhaustion overcoming the cold. Margaret and Anna stayed awake, their eyes scanning the dark landscape. The storm had taken so much from them, but it could not take their spirit. They spoke softly, sharing memories and dreams, small lights in the shadowed night. Margaret thought of her husband, of the strength he had always shown. She whispered a promise to him, her voice steady in the darkness. They would survive this, and they would find a new beginning. Anna nodded, her own thoughts with her husband, a shared resolve binding them together. The night passed slowly, the storm a constant presence. Margaret and Anna dozed fitfully, waking often to check on their children. Their bodies were cold and tired, but their hearts were strong. They were mothers, and for their children, they would endure anything. As dawn broke, the storm showed no sign of letting up. The wind still howled, the cold a relentless force. Margaret and Anna shared a look, knowing they had to move again. Staying still would only mean more danger, more cold. They rose, their bodies stiff and aching. The children were bundled tightly, their small faces showing trust and bravery. Margaret and Anna exchanged a brief smile, a shared moment of hope. They had survived another night, and that was something. The journey continued, each step a testament to their strength. The storm was unyielding, but so were they. Margaret kept her eyes on the horizon, searching for a sign, a hope. They had come so far, and she refused to believe it was all for nothing. As the day wore on, Margaret felt her strength begin to falter. The cold was a constant enemy, sapping her energy, but she pushed through, each step a small victory. Anna walked beside her, matching her pace, their resolve a shared force. The hours stretched long, the landscape unchanging. Margaret's thoughts drifted, memories of warmth and home filling her mind. She clung to them, letting them guide her steps. They were not alone. They had each other, and that was enough. As the light began to fade once more, Margaret felt a flicker of hope. In the distance, a shadow moved against the white. Her heart leaped with the possibility of help, of salvation. She quickened her pace, Anna following close behind. The storm had taken so much, but it could not take their hope. Margaret and Anna moved forward, driven by a shared belief in a better tomorrow. They had come too far to give up, and for their children, they would find a way. As they drew closer, the shadow became two figures, moving steadily through the snow. Margaret felt a surge of relief, a warmth spreading through her chest. They were not alone, and that knowledge was a light in the storm. Anna's voice was a soft breath beside her, a shared promise of survival. Together, they approached the figures, hope a steady flame in their hearts. The storm raged on, but they were not afraid. They had each other, and that was enough. The figures moved closer, their shapes becoming clearer against the snow. Margaret and Anna felt a mix of relief and caution. In this harsh land, they could not afford to trust too easily. But the need for help was stronger than their fear. Their children needed warmth and safety, and this might be their only chance. As the figures approached, Margaret could see they were two men. They wore clothes suited for the harsh weather, thick coats and sturdy boots. Their faces were calm, eyes scanning the landscape and then settling on Margaret and Anna. The men stopped a few paces away, and there was a moment of silence, the storm still a roaring backdrop. Margaret held Emily close, her heart beating fast. Anna stood beside her, Peter beside her, their bodies a tight knot of hope and fear. The men exchanged a few words in a language Margaret did not understand. One of them stepped forward, his gaze steady and kind. He gestured to the storm, then to the small grove of trees nearby. His meaning was clear: shelter. Margaret nodded, understanding the offer. Anna looked at her, and they both knew they had little choice. They needed help, and these men were offering it. The men turned, leading the way to the grove. Margaret and Anna followed, their children close by. The snow crunched underfoot, the wind still biting. But there was a new warmth in their hearts, a glimmer of hope in the icy world. As they reached the grove, the men began to clear a space. They worked quickly, gathering branches and starting a small fire. Margaret and Anna watched, grateful for the warmth that soon spread through the air. The children huddled close to the flames, their faces brightening with the heat. The men introduced themselves through simple gestures and words. Tahoma and Chayton they were called. Margaret repeated the names, her voice soft but steady. Anna did the same, a smile breaking through her tiredness. The men nodded, acknowledging the tentative connection. Communication was a challenge, but both sides tried. Tahoma pointed to the fire, then to the food they carried. He offered some to Margaret and Anna, who accepted with gratitude. The simple act of sharing a meal was a bridge, a first step towards understanding. Margaret felt the warmth of the fire seep into her bones, chasing away the chill that had settled there. For the first time in days, she allowed herself to relax, if only a little. The children ate hungrily, their spirits lifting with each bite. Anna watched them, her eyes soft with relief. As they ate, Tahoma and Chayton spoke to each other in low voices. Their words were quick, a rhythm that was foreign yet reassuring. Margaret sensed that they were discussing what to do next, how best to help. She hoped they would find a way to communicate their intentions. After the meal, Tahoma gestured to the fire, then to the sky, which was darkening once more. He pointed to the ground, miming sleep. Margaret understood they would stay here for the night. It was a safe place with warmth and protection. Anna nodded, expressing agreement. The children were already drooping with tiredness, their eyelids heavy. Margaret wrapped Emily in the blanket, tucking her close. Anna did the same for Peter, whispering soft words of comfort. The night settled around them, the storm a distant roar beyond the grove. The fire crackled softly, its light a gentle glow in the darkness. Margaret lay awake for a while, her mind filled with thoughts of the day. The fear and uncertainty had not vanished, but they felt more manageable now. She glanced at Tahoma and Chayton, who were talking quietly by the fire. Their presence was reassuring, a reminder that they were not alone. Margaret felt a flicker of gratitude, a warmth that matched the fire's glow. They had been given a chance, and she intended to make the most of it. As sleep finally took her, Margaret dreamed of home. Her husband was there, his smile a beacon in the night. She felt his presence, a comforting weight beside her. In the dream, they walked together, hand in hand, towards a future that was bright and full of promise. Morning came with a pale light, the storm having lessened its grip. The air was cold but still, a welcome change from the relentless wind. Margaret and Anna woke to find the fire still burning, Tahoma and Chayton tending it with practiced ease. The children stirred, their faces brightening as they saw the fire. Margaret smiled, feeling a renewed sense of hope. They had survived another night, and the path ahead seemed a little less daunting. Anna shared her smile, a shared moment of quiet triumph. Tahoma gestured to the sky, then to the path leading away from the grove. His meaning was clear: they needed to move to find a safer place. Margaret and Anna nodded, understanding the necessity. The storm might return, and they needed more than a temporary shelter. They prepared to leave, gathering their belongings and wrapping the children warmly. The path ahead was uncertain, but Margaret felt a growing confidence. They had allies now, a partnership forged in the storm. Tahoma and Chayton led the way, their steps sure and steady. The landscape was still covered in snow, but the air was clear, offering a glimpse of the path ahead. Margaret felt a sense of determination, a resolve that had only strengthened. They would find their way, guided by the hope that had carried them this far. As they walked, Margaret thought of their journey, the challenges they had faced. Each step was a reminder of their strength, their capacity to endure. The bond with Anna was stronger than ever, a sisterhood born of shared trials. Tahoma and Chayton moved with confidence, their knowledge of the land evident in each step. Margaret watched them, grateful for their guidance. They had chosen to help, to reach out across the divide of language and culture. It was a gift she did not take lightly. The day wore on, the path winding through the snow-covered landscape. Margaret felt the cold, but it was a distant thing, overshadowed by the warmth of hope. They were moving forward, each step bringing them closer to safety. As the sun began to set, they reached a small valley, its sides offering protection from the wind. Tahoma and Chayton surveyed the area, nodding in satisfaction. It was a good place, a safe place to rest. They set up camp, the fire a welcome beacon in the gathering dusk. Margaret felt a sense of accomplishment, a quiet joy at having made it this far. Anna shared her smile, their friendship a steady presence in the uncertain world. As they settled down for the night, Margaret felt a deep sense of gratitude. They had been given a chance, a new beginning. She looked at her daughter, her heart full of love and hope. They would find their way, guided by the light of friendship and the strength of their shared journey. The new day dawned clear and cold. The sun broke through the clouds, casting a pale light over the valley. Margaret and Anna woke to find Tahoma and Chayton already busy, tending the fire and preparing a simple meal. The warmth of the flames was a comfort, a reminder that they were not alone. The children stirred, rubbing sleep from their eyes. Margaret smiled at Emily, her heart lifting at the sight of her daughter's bright face. Anna helped Peter sit up, brushing snow from his coat. The night had been cold, but they had been safe, and that was enough. As they ate, Margaret thought about the journey that lay ahead. The path was uncertain, but she felt a growing confidence in their ability to face it. Tahoma and Chayton had shown kindness and strength, and their knowledge of the land was invaluable. Communication was still a challenge. Margaret and Anna used gestures and simple words to express their gratitude. Tahoma and Chayton responded in kind, their smiles reaching their eyes. It was a start, a bridge over the gap of language. After breakfast, Tahoma gestured toward the horizon, indicating it was time to move. Margaret nodded, understanding the need to find a more permanent shelter. The valley had provided a brief respite, but they needed something more secure. They packed their belongings, wrapping the children warmly. Tahoma and Chayton led the way, their steps sure and steady. Margaret followed, her heart full of hope and determination. They had come so far, and she believed they would find a way forward. The path was not easy. The snow was deep in places, the cold a constant presence. But they moved with purpose, each step bringing them closer to their goal. The landscape was vast and white, a world of silence broken only by the sound of their footsteps. As they walked, Tahoma tried to communicate more about their plans. He pointed to the sun, then to the direction they were heading. Margaret understood they were going west, towards a specific destination. She nodded, grateful for his guidance and leadership. Anna walked beside her, their bond a steady presence. They spoke softly, sharing thoughts and memories, their words a thread of warmth in the cold. Margaret felt a deep sense of gratitude for Anna's friendship, a sisterhood that had grown stronger with each challenge. The children walked close, their small hands clutching tightly at their mother's coats. Emily was quiet, her eyes wide with wonder at the vast landscape. Peter was more talkative, asking questions about the journey, his curiosity a bright light in the cold world. As the day wore on, Tahoma and Chayton shared stories of their own lives. Through gestures and expressions, they spoke of their families, of the tribe they belonged to. Margaret and Anna listened, fascinated by the glimpses into a world so different from their own. Tahoma and Chayton explained that they were on a journey to find a new home for their people. The land they had known was no longer safe, and they were seeking a place where their families could thrive. Margaret felt a pang of understanding, their quest mirroring her own in many ways. Despite the language barrier, a bond began to form. Shared experiences and common goals brought them closer, each side learning from the other. Margaret and Anna spoke of their past lives, of the husbands they had lost and the dreams that had driven them westward. The children, too, found common ground. They played together during breaks, laughter a bright sound in the cold air. Emily and Peter learned words in the Navajo language, their young minds quick and eager. Tahoma and Chayton watched, their expressions softening at the sight. The journey was long, but the companionship made it bearable. Margaret felt a growing sense of belonging, a warmth that matched the fire they gathered around each night. The bond with Tahoma and Chayton was a source of strength, a reminder that they were not alone. As the sun dipped low in the sky, they reached a small clearing. Tahoma and Chayton surveyed the area, nodding in satisfaction. It was a good place to stop for the night, with trees offering protection from the wind. They set up camp, the fire a welcome beacon in the gathering dusk. Margaret felt a sense of accomplishment, a quiet joy at having made it this far. Anna shared her smile, their friendship a steady presence in the uncertain world. As they settled down for the night, Margaret felt a deep sense of gratitude. They had been given a chance, a new beginning. She looked at her daughter, her heart full of love and hope. They would find their way, guided by the light of friendship and the strength of their shared journey. Tahoma and Chayton joined them by the fire, their presence reassuring. The night was cold, but the warmth of companionship was a powerful balm. They shared stories, laughter, and dreams, weaving a tapestry of connection that spanned the divide of language and culture. Margaret felt a deep sense of peace, a quiet certainty that they would find their way. The path was uncertain, but the bonds they had formed would guide them. Together, they were stronger, each person a vital part of the whole. As sleep finally claimed her, Margaret dreamed of a new home, a place where they could build a future, where their children could grow and thrive. The dream was bright and full of promise, a beacon in the night. Morning came with a clear sky, the storm a distant memory. Margaret woke to find Tahoma and Chayton already preparing for the day. Their presence was a comfort, a reminder of the journey they were on together. The path lay open before them, a promise of new beginnings. Margaret felt a surge of hope, a certainty that they would find their way. With Tahoma and Chayton by their side, the future seemed bright and full of possibility. They set off once more, the sun at their backs and their hearts full of determination. Margaret walked with Anna, their bond a steady presence in the uncertain world. The journey was long, but they were not alone. Together, they were strong, a family forged in the fires of friendship and hope. The journey continued through the snowy landscape. Each day brought new challenges, but Margaret and Anna found strength in their growing bond with Tahoma and Chayton. The group moved with purpose, driven by the shared goal of finding a safe place to call home. As they traveled, the storm eased, allowing the sun to shine more frequently. The light was a welcome change, lifting their spirits. The world seemed less harsh, the path ahead more hopeful. Margaret felt a deep sense of gratitude for the companionship they had found. In the evenings, they gathered around the fire, sharing stories and laughter. Margaret and Anna spoke of their past, the lives they had left behind. They shared memories of their husbands, the love that had sustained them through difficult times. Tahoma and Chayton listened, their expressions thoughtful, their presence a steady comfort. The children played together, their laughter a bright thread in the cold air. Emily and Peter were growing stronger, their resilience a testament to the care and love of their mothers. They learned words in the Navajo language, their young voices eager and curious. Tahoma and Chayton taught them simple phrases, their smiles warm and encouraging. Margaret watched the children, her heart full of pride and hope. They were adapting to this new life, finding joy in simple things. It was a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit, the capacity to endure and thrive even in the harshest conditions. As the days passed, Margaret and Anna learned more about Navajo traditions. Tahoma and Chayton shared stories from their culture, tales of bravery and wisdom passed down through generations. Margaret was fascinated, each story a window into a world both different and familiar. They learned about the importance of community, the bonds that held their tribe together. Tahoma spoke of the land, the deep connection his people felt to it. Margaret understood, her own heart tied to the earth beneath her feet. The land was home, a place of belonging and hope. Anna listened intently, her eyes bright with interest. She asked questions, eager to learn more. Tahoma and Chayton responded with patience, their answers thoughtful and clear. The exchange of stories and knowledge was a bridge, a way to connect across the divide of language. The bond between the group deepened, a friendship forged in the fires of shared experience. Margaret felt a growing sense of belonging, a warmth that matched the fire they gathered around each night. The journey had brought them together, and they were stronger for it. As they traveled, they encountered challenges. The terrain was rough, the cold a constant presence. But Tahoma and Chayton guided them with confidence, their knowledge of the land invaluable. Margaret and Anna contributed in their own ways, preparing meals and keeping spirits high. They faced obstacles, but each one was met with determination and resolve. The group worked together, each member contributing their strengths. Margaret felt a deep sense of pride in their unity, a belief that they could overcome anything together. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Tahoma shared a story from his tribe. He spoke of a great journey, a quest for a new home. The tale was one of courage and perseverance, a reflection of their own journey. Margaret listened, her heart stirred by the parallels to their lives. Anna nodded, understanding the deeper meaning of the story. It was a reminder of the strength that lay within them, the capacity to endure and thrive. The journey was not just physical. It was a test of their spirit, a challenge to their resolve. Margaret thought of her husband, of the promises they had made to each other. She whispered a silent vow, her heart full of love and hope. They would find their way, guided by the bonds they had forged and the dreams that had driven them westward. As the fire crackled softly, the children snuggled close, their eyes heavy with sleep. Margaret watched them, a smile on her lips. They were safe, surrounded by love and friendship. The journey had been hard, but it had also been a gift, a chance to build a new life. The night was cold, but the warmth of companionship was a powerful balm. Margaret felt a deep sense of peace, a certainty that they would find their way. The path was uncertain, but the bonds they had formed would guide them. Together, they were stronger, each person a vital part of the whole. Morning came with a clear sky, the sun a bright promise of the day ahead. Margaret woke to find Tahoma and Chayton already preparing for the journey. Their presence was a comfort, a reminder of the path they were on together. The group set off once more, their steps sure and steady. Margaret walked with Anna, their bond a steady presence in the uncertain world. The journey was long, but they were not alone. Together, they were strong, a family forged in the fires of friendship and hope. As they traveled, Margaret felt a growing sense of anticipation. The future was bright with promise, a new beginning waiting just beyond the horizon. With Tahoma and Chayton by their side, the journey was no longer a burden but an adventure. They moved forward, the sun at their backs and their hearts full of determination. Margaret felt a surge of hope, a certainty that they would find their way. The path lay open before them, a promise of new beginnings and a brighter tomorrow. Together, they would find their home, guided by the light of friendship and the strength of their shared journey. The days turned into a routine as Margaret, Anna, Tahoma, and Chayton continued their journey. Each morning began with the warmth of the fire and the promise of a new day. The children woke with energy, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The group prepared quickly, knowing the importance of making progress while the weather remained favorable. Margaret felt a growing sense of purpose with each step. The path was still challenging, but the bonds they had formed gave her strength. Tahoma and Chayton were steadfast guides, their knowledge of the land invaluable. Margaret and Anna contributed by keeping the group fed and spirits high, their laughter and stories a constant source of warmth. One morning, as they set off, the landscape began to change. The snow thinned, revealing patches of earth beneath. The air felt different, carrying a hint of warmth that spoke of spring. Margaret felt a flicker of hope, a sign that they were moving toward a better place. The journey was not without its challenges. The terrain was rough, with rocky paths and steep hills. Margaret and Anna found themselves relying more and more on Tahoma and Chayton, whose experience and skills were crucial. They taught the women how to navigate the difficult paths, showing them how to find safe footing and avoid hidden dangers. Margaret was grateful for their guidance, each lesson a step toward independence and safety. She felt herself growing stronger, more confident in her ability to face the challenges of the journey. Anna mirrored her determination, their friendship a steady support in the uncertain world. As they traveled, they found signs of life emerging from the winter's grasp. Small plants pushed through the melting snow, and the first sounds of birds began to fill the air. Margaret felt a sense of renewal, a promise of new beginnings that mirrored their own journey. The group moved with purpose, driven by the shared goal of finding a permanent home. Each day's travel brought them closer, their determination unwavering. The bond between them grew stronger, a testament to the power of friendship and shared experience. One afternoon, as they rested by a stream, Tahoma pointed to the sky, indicating a change in the weather. Clouds gathered on the horizon, a reminder of the harsh conditions they had left behind. Margaret felt a pang of worry but pushed it aside, focusing on the task at hand. Tahoma and Chayton discussed their options, their voices low and thoughtful. They knew the importance of finding shelter before the weather turned. Margaret and Anna listened, trusting in their judgment and experience. The group set off again, their pace quickening as they sought a safe place to camp. The clouds loomed larger, a dark promise of rain and wind. Margaret felt a familiar tension, the knowledge that they needed to act quickly. As the light began to fade, they found a small cave in the side of a hill. Tahoma and Chayton inspected it carefully, ensuring it was safe from wild animals and stable enough to provide shelter. Margaret and Anna helped gather wood and start a fire, their movements swift and practiced. The rain began to fall as they settled into the cave, the sound a steady rhythm against the earth. Margaret felt a rush of relief, the warmth of the fire chasing away the chill. The children huddled close, their eyes wide with curiosity and trust. As the storm raged outside, the group found comfort in each other's presence. Tahoma and Chayton shared stories of their people, tales of resilience and courage. Margaret and Anna listened, their hearts lifted by the strength that lay within each story. Margaret thought of her husband, of the promises they had made to each other. She felt his presence, a comforting weight beside her. The journey had taken them far, but she believed they were on the right path. Together they would find their way. The storm passed, leaving the world fresh and renewed. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of earth and new growth. Margaret felt a sense of hope, a belief in the promise of the land. They had weathered the storm, and the future felt bright with possibility. As the group prepared to move on, Margaret reflected on the journey so far. The challenges had been many, but they had faced each one with courage and determination. The bonds they had formed were strong, a testament to the power of friendship and shared experience. The path ahead was still uncertain, but Margaret felt a growing confidence in their ability to find their way. Tahoma and Chayton led the way, their presence a constant source of reassurance. Margaret and Anna followed, their hearts full of hope and determination. The journey continued, each step bringing them closer to their goal. The land was changing, offering signs of the new life that lay ahead. Margaret felt a deep sense of peace, a certainty that they would find their home. As they walked, Margaret thought of the future. The journey had been long and hard, but it had also been a gift. They had found friendship and hope, a new beginning waiting just beyond the horizon. The sun shone brightly, a promise of warmth and light. Margaret felt a surge of gratitude, a belief in the power of the bonds they had forged. Together, they were strong, a family united by the journey and the dreams that had driven them forward. The path lay open before them, a promise of new beginnings and a brighter tomorrow. Margaret walked with Anna, their bond a steady presence in the uncertain world. The journey was long, but they were not alone. Together, they were strong, a family forged in the fires of friendship and hope. The sun rose over the horizon, casting a warm glow across the landscape. Margaret, Anna, Tahoma, and Chayton set out early, eager to cover more ground. The path ahead was less daunting now, their spirits lifted by the signs of spring all around them. The snow was melting, revealing patches of green, a promise of the life that lay ahead. The group moved with purpose, each step bringing them closer to their goal. Tahoma and Chayton led the way, their knowledge of the land guiding them through the changing terrain. Margaret and Anna followed, their hearts full of hope and determination. The children walked between them, their laughter a bright sound in the crisp morning air. As they traveled, the bond between them grew stronger. Each day was a testament to the strength of their friendship, the shared experiences that had brought them together. Margaret felt a deep sense of gratitude for the companionship they had found, the kindness and strength of Tahoma, and Chayton, a constant source of comfort. The path was not without its challenges. The terrain was rough, with steep hills and rocky paths. Margaret and Anna relied on Tahoma and Chayton for guidance, their expertise invaluable. The men taught them how to navigate the difficult paths, showing them where to step and how to avoid hidden dangers. Margaret felt herself growing stronger, more confident in her ability to face the challenges of the journey. Anna mirrored her determination, their friendship a steady support in the uncertain world. Together, they had faced many obstacles and had come out stronger on the other side. One afternoon, as they walked through a dense forest, the group encountered a new threat. The air was still, the silence heavy with anticipation. Margaret sensed something was wrong, her instincts alerting her to the danger. She glanced at Tahoma, who had stopped, his eyes scanning the trees. Chayton moved to stand beside him, his expression serious. Margaret and Anna drew the children close, their hearts pounding with fear and uncertainty. The threat revealed itself in the form of a pack of wolves, their eyes bright and hungry as they emerged from the shadows. The wolves circled the group, their growls low and menacing. Margaret felt a surge of fear, her hands tightening around Emily's shoulders. Anna did the same with Peter, her expression tense but determined. They had faced many challenges, but this was unlike anything they had encountered before. Tahoma and Chayton stepped forward, their movements calm and deliberate. They spoke softly, their voices steady and reassuring. Margaret watched in awe as they communicated with the wolves, their understanding of the animals clear. The wolves hesitated, their eyes flicking between the men and the women. Margaret felt her fear lessen, replaced by a growing sense of trust in Tahoma and Chayton. They had proven themselves time and again, their strength and wisdom a guiding light in the darkness. She whispered words of comfort to Emily, her voice a steady anchor in the chaos. Anna did the same with Peter, her expression softening as she watched Tahoma and Chayton work. The men moved with confidence, their gestures calm and controlled. Slowly, the wolves began to retreat, their curiosity satisfied, their threat diminished. Margaret felt a rush of relief, the tension in her body easing as the wolves disappeared into the trees. She exchanged a glance with Anna, their eyes reflecting a shared sense of gratitude and awe. They had faced a test of courage and had come through it stronger than before. Tahoma and Chayton turned back to the group, their expressions calm but serious. They spoke quietly, their words a reminder of the dangers that still lay ahead. Margaret nodded, understanding the importance of vigilance and caution. They could not afford to let their guard down, not when they were so close to their goal. The group continued on, their steps more cautious but no less determined. The encounter with the wolves had reinforced their bond, a reminder of the strength that lay within each of them. Margaret felt a renewed sense of purpose, a belief in the power of their friendship and the dreams that had driven them forward. As the sun began to set, they reached a small clearing. Tahoma and Chayton surveyed the area, nodding in satisfaction. It was a good place to stop for the night, with trees offering protection from the wind and a stream nearby for fresh water. They set up camp, the fire a welcome source of warmth and light. Margaret felt a deep sense of peace, a certainty that they would find their way. The path was uncertain, but the bonds they had formed would guide them. Together, they were stronger, each person a vital part of the whole. As they sat around the fire, Tahoma shared a story from his tribe. He spoke of a journey, a quest for a new home. The tale was one of courage and perseverance, a reflection of their own journey. Margaret listened, her heart stirred by the parallels to their lives. Anna nodded, understanding the deeper meaning of the story. It was a reminder of the strength that lay within them, the capacity to endure and thrive. The journey was not just physical. It was a test of their spirit, a challenge to their resolve. Margaret thought of her husband, of the promises they had made to each other. She whispered a silent vow, her heart full of love and hope. They would find their way, guided by the bonds they had forged and the dreams that had driven them westward. The night was cold, but the warmth of companionship was a powerful balm. Margaret felt a deep sense of peace, a certainty that they would find their way. The path was uncertain, but the bonds they had formed would guide them. Together, they were stronger, each person a vital part of the whole. Morning came with a clear sky, the sun a bright promise of the day ahead. Margaret woke to find Tahoma and Chayton already preparing for the journey. Their presence was a comfort, a reminder of the path they were on together. The group set off once more, their steps sure and steady. Margaret walked with Anna, their bond a steady presence in the uncertain world. The journey was long, but they were not alone. Together, they were strong, a family forged in the fires of friendship and hope. As they traveled, Margaret felt a growing sense of anticipation. The future was bright with promise, a new beginning waiting just beyond the horizon. With Tahoma and Chayton by their side, the journey was no longer a burden but an adventure. They moved forward, the sun at their backs and their hearts full of determination. Margaret felt a surge of hope, a certainty that they would find their way. The path lay open before them, a promise of new beginnings and a brighter tomorrow. Together, they would find their home, guided by the light of friendship and the strength of their shared journey. The journey continued as the group moved through the changing landscape. The snow had mostly melted, leaving the ground soft and muddy. The air was warmer, carrying the scent of new growth. Margaret felt a sense of renewal, a belief that they were moving toward a promising future. Tahoma and Chayton led the way, their eyes scanning the horizon for signs of a suitable place to settle. Margaret and Anna followed with their children, their hearts full of hope and determination. The path was still difficult, but the bond between them made it bearable. Each day brought new challenges. The terrain was rough with steep hills and rocky paths, but they moved with purpose, driven by the shared goal of finding a permanent home. Tahoma and Chayton's knowledge of the land was invaluable, guiding them through the toughest parts. Margaret and Anna contributed by keeping the group fed and spirits high. They prepared meals with the supplies they had, making sure everyone had enough strength for the journey. Their laughter and stories were a constant source of warmth, a reminder of the strength that lay within each of them. As they traveled, they kept an eye out for a suitable location to set up a more permanent camp. Tahoma and Chayton knew what to look for: water, protection from the elements, and enough resources to sustain them. Margaret trusted their judgment, believing they would know the right place when they found it. One afternoon, as they walked through a wide valley, Tahoma stopped. He pointed to the landscape ahead, a look of satisfaction on his face. Margaret followed his gaze, her heart lifting at the sight. The valley was lush and green, with a river running through it. The area was sheltered by hills, providing protection from the wind. Tahoma and Chayton exchanged a few words, their expressions thoughtful. Margaret and Anna waited, sensing the significance of the moment. Tahoma turned to them, gesturing to the valley with a nod. This was the place, the home they had been searching for. Margaret felt a rush of relief, a belief that their journey was nearing its end. The valley was beautiful, a place where they could build a future. Anna shared her smile, their eyes reflecting a shared sense of hope and gratitude. The group moved down into the valley, their footsteps light with anticipation. Tahoma and Chayton led them to a spot near the river, where the land was flat and fertile. Margaret could see the potential, the promise of what could be. They set to work, each person contributing their strengths. Tahoma and Chayton taught Margaret and Anna how to build shelters, using the resources available. They gathered wood and stones, working together to create a safe and sturdy home. The children played nearby, their laughter a bright sound in the air. Emily and Peter were growing stronger, their faces bright with curiosity and excitement. Margaret watched them, her heart full of love and hope. They had come so far, and the future felt bright with possibility. As they worked, Margaret felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The journey had been long and difficult, but they had persevered. The bond between them had grown stronger, a testament to the power of friendship and shared experience. Tahoma and Chayton guided them, their knowledge and skills invaluable. Margaret felt a growing sense of gratitude for their companionship, the kindness and strength they had shown throughout the journey. They were more than allies. They were family. The camp took shape, a testament to their hard work and determination. The shelters were simple but sturdy, providing protection from the elements. Margaret felt a surge of pride, a belief in the power of what they had achieved together. As the sun set, they gathered around the fire, their hearts full of hope and anticipation. Tahoma shared a story from his tribe, a tale of new beginnings and the strength of community. Margaret listened, her heart stirred by the parallels to their own journey. Anna nodded, understanding the deeper meaning of the story. It was a reminder of the strength that lay within them, the capacity to endure and thrive. The journey was not just physical. It was a test of their spirit, a challenge to their resolve. Margaret thought of her husband, of the promises they had made to each other. She whispered a silent vow, her heart full of love and hope. They would build a new life here, guided by the bonds they had forged and the dreams that had driven them forward. The night was calm, the air filled with the sounds of the river and the rustling of leaves. Margaret felt a deep sense of peace, a certainty that they had found their home. The path had been long and hard, but it had brought them to this place of safety and hope. As they sat by the fire, the bond between them felt stronger than ever. Margaret felt a growing sense of belonging, a belief in the power of the community they had created. Together, they were strong, a family united by the journey and the dreams that had driven them forward. Morning came with a clear sky, the sun a bright promise of the day ahead. Margaret woke to find Tahoma and Chayton already busy, their presence a comfort and a reminder of the path they had taken together. The group set to work, each person contributing to the building of their new home. Margaret felt a surge of hope, a certainty that they would find their way. The path lay open before them, a promise of new beginnings and a brighter tomorrow. Together, they would build a future, guided by the light of friendship and the strength of their shared journey. The valley was their home now, a place of safety and hope. Margaret felt a deep sense of gratitude, a belief in the power of the bonds they had forged. The journey had been long, but it had brought them to this place of peace and promise. Together, they were strong, a family forged in the fires of friendship and hope. The future was bright, a new beginning waiting just beyond the horizon. The days passed peacefully in the valley, the group settling into a routine. The shelters they had built were sturdy, providing warmth and protection. The land was rich with resources, offering food and fresh water. Margaret felt a deep sense of contentment, a belief that they had truly found a place to call home. Margaret and Anna worked together each day, preparing meals and caring for the children. Emily and Peter thrived in their new environment, their laughter a constant reminder of the happiness they had found. Tahoma and Chayton continued to teach them about the land, sharing knowledge and skills that were invaluable for their survival. As the days turned into weeks, a sense of community grew among them. They were more than a group of travelers. They were a family, bound by the journey they had shared. The bond between them was strong, a testament to the power of friendship and shared experience. But as they settled into their new life, a new challenge emerged. Other travelers, driven by desperation and the promise of new land, began to appear in the valley. They were strangers, their intentions unclear, and their presence brought an undercurrent of tension. Margaret felt a flicker of unease, a reminder that the world beyond their valley was still uncertain. She watched the newcomers carefully, her instincts alerting her to the potential danger. Tahoma and Chayton shared her concern, their expressions thoughtful as they discussed the situation. The newcomers were a mixed group, families, lone travelers, and others seeking refuge. Some were friendly, grateful for a place to rest and eager to share stories and experiences. Others were more guarded, their eyes wary and their words few. Margaret and Anna welcomed those who passed through, offering food and a place by the fire. They listened to tales of hardship and loss, stories that mirrored their own journey. But they also remained cautious, aware of the need to protect their newfound home. Tahoma and Chayton took on the role of leaders, their presence a steadying force in the valley. They spoke with the newcomers, assessing their intentions and deciding who could be trusted. Their experience and wisdom were invaluable, guiding the group through this new challenge. Margaret admired their strength, the quiet confidence with which they handled the situation. She felt a growing respect for their leadership, a belief in their ability to protect their home. Together, they formed a plan, a strategy for dealing with the changing dynamics in the valley. As more travelers arrived, tensions occasionally flared. Disagreements over resources and territory threatened the peace they had worked so hard to build. Margaret felt the weight of responsibility, the need to keep their community safe and united. Anna stood by her side, their friendship a steady support. They spoke often, sharing concerns and ideas, their words a thread of calm in the growing storm. Margaret felt grateful for Anna's presence, her unwavering belief in the strength of their bond. One evening, as they gathered around the fire, a confrontation threatened to erupt. A group of newcomers argued over the use of the river, their voices raised in anger. Margaret felt a knot of fear tighten in her chest, the fragile piece of their home hanging in the balance. Tahoma and Chayton stepped forward, their expressions calm but firm. They spoke with authority, their voices carrying across the clearing. Margaret watched as they mediated the dispute, their words measured and fair. The tension eased, the newcomers nodding in agreement as the issue was resolved. Margaret felt a surge of relief, the crisis averted by the strength of Tahoma and Chayton's leadership. She exchanged a glance with Anna, their eyes reflecting a shared sense of gratitude and respect. They had faced a test of unity and had come through it stronger than before. As the fire crackled softly, Tahoma shared a story from his tribe, a tale of unity and strength in the face of adversity. Margaret listened, her heart stirred by the parallels to their own journey. The story was a reminder of the power of community, the bonds that held them together. Anna nodded, understanding the deeper meaning of the story. It was a lesson in resilience, a testament to the strength that lay within them. The journey was not just physical. It was a test of their spirit, a challenge to their resolve. Margaret thought of her husband, of the promises they had made to each other. She whispered a silent vow, her heart full of love and hope. They would protect their home, guided by the bonds they had forged and the dreams that had driven them forward. The night was calm, the air filled with the sounds of the river and the rustling of leaves. Margaret felt a deep sense of peace, a certainty that they had found their place in the world. The path had been long and hard, but it had brought them to this place of safety and hope. As they sat by the fire, the bond between them felt stronger than ever. Margaret felt a growing sense of belonging, a belief in the power of the community they had created. Together, they were strong, a family united by the journey and the dreams that had driven them forward. Morning came with a clear sky, the sun a bright promise of the day ahead. Margaret woke to find Tahoma and Chayton already busy, their presence a comfort and a reminder of the path they had taken together. The group set to work, each person contributing to the strengthening of their home. They built shelters and gathered resources, preparing for the future. Margaret felt a surge of hope, a certainty that they would find their way. Together, they would protect their home, guided by the light of friendship and the strength of their shared journey. The valley was their sanctuary, a place of safety and hope. Margaret felt a deep sense of gratitude, a belief in the power of the bonds they had forged. The journey had been long, but it had brought them to this place of peace and promise. Together, they were strong, a family forged in the fires of friendship and hope. The future was bright, a new beginning waiting just beyond the horizon. Life in the valley settled into a steady rhythm. The group's hard work had paid off, and their home felt secure. The shelters were strong, and there was enough food to sustain them. Margaret and Anna felt a deep sense of peace, a belief that they had truly found a place where they belonged. The newcomers who had decided to stay were welcomed into the community. Tahoma and Chayton's leadership ensured everyone had a role, each person contributing to the well-being of the group. The valley was becoming a thriving settlement, a testament to their resilience and cooperation. Margaret watched with pride as the community came together. The bonds they had formed were strong, a reflection of the journey they had shared. There was a sense of unity, a belief in the strength of their diversity. Everyone brought unique skills and perspectives, enriching the life they had built. The days were full of work and laughter, each task a step toward a brighter future. Margaret and Anna continued to care for the children, their days filled with stories and play. Emily and Peter thrived in the valley, their faces bright with health and happiness. They spent their days exploring, learning from the land and the people around them. Margaret felt a deep gratitude for the life they had created. The journey had been long and challenging, but it had brought them to this place of safety and community. She thought often of her husband, of the dreams they had shared. Here, in the valley, those dreams were becoming a reality. One evening, as the sun set over the hills, the community gathered for a celebration. It was a time to reflect on their journey, to honor the bonds that had brought them together. Tahoma and Chayton had organized a feast, a chance for everyone to share food and stories. Margaret looked around at the faces of her friends and neighbors, her heart full of warmth and contentment. Anna stood beside her, their friendship a steady presence in the uncertain world. They had come so far, and the future felt bright with promise. The feast began with Tahoma speaking to the group. His words were simple but powerful, a reminder of the strength that lay in their unity. He spoke of their journey, of the challenges they had faced and overcome. His voice carried across the clearing, a beacon of hope and inspiration. Margaret listened, her heart stirred by his words. She felt a deep sense of connection, a belief in the power of their shared experiences. The journey had not just been about finding a home. It had been about building a family, a community bound by love and respect. As the feast continued, laughter and music filled the air. People shared stories of their travels, tales of hardship and triumph. Margaret listened, her heart full of gratitude for the resilience and courage of the people around her. Each story was a testament to the strength of the human spirit, a reminder of the journey they had all taken. Anna shared a story of her own, her voice steady and warm. She spoke of their time on the road, of the challenges they had faced together. Her words were a tribute to their friendship, a reminder of the bond that had sustained them through the darkest times. Margaret felt a surge of affection for Anna, a belief in the power of their connection. They had faced so much together, and their friendship had only grown stronger. It was a bond forged in the fires of hardship and hope, a testament to the strength that lay within them. As the evening went on, Tahoma and Chayton shared stories from their culture, tales of tradition and wisdom. Margaret listened, her heart full of respect and admiration. The stories were a bridge, a way to connect across the divide of language and culture. The celebration continued late into the night, the fire a warm glow in the darkness. Margaret felt a deep sense of peace, a certainty that they had found their place in the world. The path had been long and hard, but it had brought them to this place of safety and hope. As the night drew to a close, Tahoma spoke once more. He thanked everyone for their hard work, for their commitment to building a community. His words were a reminder of the strength that lay in their unity, the power of their shared vision. Margaret felt a deep sense of gratitude, a belief in the power of the bonds they had forged. They had created something special, a community built on trust and respect. Together, they were strong, a family united by the journey and the dreams that had driven them forward. Morning came with a clear sky, the sun a bright promise of the day ahead. Margaret woke to find the valley peaceful and serene, a reflection of the harmony they had created. The journey had been long, but it had brought them to this place of peace and promise. The group set to work, each person contributing to the continued growth of their home. Margaret felt a surge of hope, a certainty that they would find their way. The path lay open before them, a promise of new beginnings and a brighter tomorrow. Together, they would protect their home, guided by the light of friendship and the strength of their shared journey. The valley was their sanctuary, a place of safety and hope. Margaret felt a deep sense of gratitude, a belief in the power of the bonds they had forged. The journey had been long, but it had brought them to this place of peace and promise. Together, they were strong, a family forged in the fires of friendship and hope. The future was bright, a new beginning waiting just beyond the horizon. The morning light filtered through the trees, casting a gentle glow over the valley. Margaret stepped out of her shelter, taking a deep breath of the fresh, crisp air. The valley was alive with the sounds of morning, a testament to the vibrant life they had built together. She felt a deep sense of peace, a certainty that they had found their place in the world. The community was already buzzing with activity. People moved about with purpose, tending to the tasks that kept their home running smoothly. There was a rhythm to their days now, a routine that brought comfort and stability. Margaret watched as Emily and Peter joined the other children, their laughter bright and carefree. Anna appeared at Margaret's side, her smile warm and welcoming. They shared a quiet moment of reflection, their friendship a steady anchor in the ever-changing world. The journey had been long and challenging, but it had brought them here, to this place of safety and hope. Margaret and Anna set to work, preparing breakfast for the community. The smell of cooking filled the air, drawing people to the communal area. There was a sense of camaraderie, a feeling of belonging that wrapped around them like a warm blanket. Margaret felt a deep sense of gratitude, a belief in the power of the bonds they had forged. As they ate, Tahoma and Chayton joined them, their presence a comforting reminder of the journey they had shared. The bond between them had grown strong, a testament to the power of friendship and shared experience. Margaret felt a growing respect for their leadership, their wisdom and strength guiding the community through each challenge. After breakfast, the group gathered to discuss plans for the future. There was much to do, but the sense of purpose was clear. Tahoma spoke of the need to expand their shelters, to prepare for the changing seasons. Margaret listened, her heart full of hope and determination. They had come so far, and the future felt bright with promise. The meeting ended with a shared sense of excitement, a belief in the potential of what they could achieve together. Margaret felt a surge of energy, a certainty that they were on the right path. The valley was their home now, a place where they could build a future. As the day unfolded, Margaret found herself reflecting on their journey. The challenges had been many, but they had faced each one with courage and resolve. The bond between them had been forged in the fires of hardship, a testament to the strength that lay within each of them. Margaret thought of her husband, of the dreams they had shared. She felt his presence in the valley, a comforting weight that guided her steps. They had found their way, guided by the bonds they had forged and the dreams that had driven them forward. In the afternoon, Margaret joined Anna and the other women to work on expanding the shelters. The air was filled with laughter and conversation, a reminder of the community they had built. Margaret felt a deep sense of pride, a belief in the power of their shared vision. As the sun dipped low in the sky, the community gathered once more. It was a time of reflection, a chance to honor the journey they had taken. Tahoma spoke of the strength that lay in their unity, the power of the bonds that held them together. His words were a beacon of hope, a reminder of the strength that lay within them. Margaret listened, her heart full of warmth and gratitude. The journey had been long and challenging, but it had brought them to this place of safety and hope. Together, they were strong, a family united by the journey and the dreams that had driven them forward. As the evening drew to a close, Margaret stood with Anna, their eyes reflecting a shared sense of peace. They had come so far, and the future felt bright with promise. The valley was their sanctuary, a place of safety and hope. Margaret felt a deep sense of gratitude, a belief in the power of the bonds they had forged. They had created something special, a community built on trust and respect. Together, they were strong, a family united by the journey and the dreams that had driven them forward. The night was calm, the air filled with the sounds of the river and the rustling of leaves. Margaret felt a deep sense of peace, a certainty that they had found their place in the world. The path had been long and hard, but it had brought them to this place of safety and hope. As they sat by the fire, the bond between them felt stronger than ever. Margaret felt a growing sense of belonging, a belief in the power of the community they had created. Together, they were strong, a family united by the journey and the dreams that had driven them forward. Morning came with a clear sky, the sun a bright promise of the day ahead. Margaret woke to find the valley peaceful and serene, a reflection of the harmony they had created. The journey had been long, but it had brought them to this place of peace and promise. The group set to work, each person contributing to the continued growth of their home. Margaret felt a surge of hope, a certainty that they would find their way. The path lay open before them, a promise of new beginnings and a brighter tomorrow. Together, they would protect their home, guided by the light of friendship and the strength of their shared journey. The valley was their sanctuary, a place of safety and hope. Margaret felt a deep sense of gratitude, a belief in the power of the bonds they had forged. The journey had been long, but it had brought them to this place of peace and promise. Together, they were strong, a family forged in the fires of friendship and hope. The future was bright, a new beginning waiting just beyond the horizon. If you loved the story, like the video and subscribe.